Well, hello, and hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Rebecca Jade, and this is my podcast called Everything with Rebecca Jade. And I call it Everything because I want to talk about everything. It'll be music, it'll be, I don't know, real estate, it'll be animals, or I don't know, whatever becomes of interest in my immediate world. I'm going to be talking about that. But today, I'm going to talk about music, and I have one of my dearest friends, one of my most, I love this person so much, and I'm so glad that we are in each other's lives. And my very special guest today is Korey Kingston.
Yay! Thank you so much. Wow, what a kind intro.
I'm doing the sound effects too, just so you know.
Yeah. I got it. Yeah, it's in my imagination. I heard them all. I'm just
Okay,
thank
good.
you to all my fans and what a great intro. Thank you so much. I've never had such a great intro.
Man, listen, look, we could do this on a regular basis, and I can intro you. We'll walk into Guitar Center, and I can intro you like
Before I come in, that'll be amazing. That'll be amazing. Yes. Can I get everyone's attention and then just boom, I walk in, they're like, who's that?
Who's that? And they go back to tighten the guitar strings.
Boom, boom, ka, booka, booka, boom, ka, that beat.
Right.
The same beat that everyone plays in Guitar
That's
Center.
great. Yep. I've done that one myself, actually. No. What's up, man? How are you?
Oh, chilling. Just it's another Thursday, and Thursday's like my mellowest day, so I'm feeling great, and I'm so happy to be on your show. Thank you so much. This is really cool.
I'm so glad you're here. And just to give a little bit of background to people, how Korey and I know each other, we actually first started out playing in a band together called Siren's Crush. Shout out to Siren's Crush. And, Korey and I just felt like we kind of just always had a cool connection. And what I love about you, Korey, is like, you really are just authentically yourself. And and I love that about you. I love that you're like quirky and you're weird and in a good way, and you're just yourself. And I just always know, like, whenever I hang out with you, I know I know who I'm going to be with. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's going to be you. It's not like, oh, it's, I got to be this Korey now or whatever like that. I just always love that about you. And there's not a lot of people like that, and I'm so glad that we've maintained to be friends over many years. And I took drum lessons with you. You're an amazing drummer.
Thank you so much.
Really gifted, and I just love what you do in the community. Like, you were so all over the place with your company, Drum Brigade, with your podcasts. Like, you're just all about drums, and you're about. I've been doing your morning chops and coffee, which has been amazing. He does Korey does this really cool. I feel like I'm just blabbing, but I'm gonna,
It's all good. It's all good.
Korey does this really wonderful thing for drummers of all ranges. It doesn't matter how new you are, how experienced you are, and just to kind of hang out, and just feel accepted. And you have no idea how much just you reiterating that point. Like, if you love drums and you feel comfortable, you want to sit behind the drums, you are part of the drum community. And so, share a little bit more about that. I'd love to hear how kind of like where that kind of concept came for you.
Yeah, thank you so much for saying that too, by the way. All the stuff that you said is so kind, and the feeling is very mutual. Like, we go way back, and it's the same for me. I love what you do. I feel like you're the one of the greatest to ever do it, in my opinion. And I really believe that, and a lot of people do. But yeah, I do sometimes ruffle some feathers. I am unapologetically me, and I really take a lot of pride in that. I really do try to be upbeat and positive, and especially now I'm trying to do a lot of mindset changing and a lot of that kind of stuff. So I do try to, but I do want to be authentically me. So, I like music that a lot of people don't know of or haven't heard of, and
I love that about you too.
Yeah.
I love it.
I dress like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love everything. I love that.
Thank you. And I try to let that be apparent in everything that I do. So, it's just me, and I've kind of come to grips and kind of accepted the fact that people are either going to be like, oh, I find like I have something in common with that guy, or like, yeah, he's just not for me. And I'm like, all right, I'm cool with that, you know. But as far as the Drum Brigade goes, my company and Chops and Coffee, like you mentioned, so this is actually just recent. I've really been trying to do a lot of like development and a lot of thinking, and like I said, mindset training and all of that stuff. So for years, the Drum Brigade mantra was camaraderie over competition, or we would call it the brotherhood of drums.
Right.
And I still feel like a lot of people couldn't connect with that. It was like, it made sense to drummers, but as a community, and like a community that's really about welcoming others, even new drummers, into our community, a lot of new drummers were like, I don't get it. Like, why do we need camaraderie over competition? Like, I just like to play drums. And I'm like, yeah. So it was a lot of thinking, a lot of training for me, a lot of, like hardcore. There's days where I'd come home exhausted, you know, and just because I was like mentally trying to figure things out. And just trying to figure out what the core value of my company was. What is the core word that my company is, you know? And after a lot of processing, eliminating, thinking, it was like, well, what is it that I want? What is it that I'm trying to say? And so it was like, man, like a lot of check boxes and crossing out this word and doing this. And what do I like? What do I hate? Who is my enemy, you know, in the drum world? And it started becoming all about me feeling accepted in my own community and feeling like I belong in my own community. And like a lot of people don't realize this, but like for me, for years, there was times where I couldn't play in front of other drummers. I would never even think about it. I would go to NAMM show, our trade show for music and all that stuff that's in Anaheim every year, except for this year.
Right.
But and I would be scared to death. I would be admiring everybody else, but I'd be scared to death to sit down and play. And I'm like, I've been playing my whole life. Like, why do I feel like this?
You're great. You're great.
But it was my own mindset of do I feel like I should be here? And all of the time I felt inferior. All of the time I felt inferior, except for when I was like on my own stage with a band that I'm either hired in or whatever. Then I felt like I'm me. And so I was trying to figure out, why do I feel like this? Why should I feel like this? And how do I fix this? And then I started forcing myself into like other situations with some of the best drummers I know, like, and putting myself in, purposely being the weakest link. And then I started seeing that not only do I feel like this, but they feel the exact same way. They feel inferior to me. And I'm like, what do you feel inferior to me for? Like, I'm just, you know, I can't even hold your drumsticks. And so I started seeing that this is a problem in our community, you know, and not just drums, but in general with people.
Yeah.
And so it was like, man, I think my idea is, if we can all feel accepted in our community and push aside that inferiority complex, then we can really flourish and we can really be as good as we want to be, because we believe it. And we believe that everybody that's in our community believes it.
Yeah.
And I feel like as soon as I changed that thinking of like, you know what, if you don't think I'm dope, then like beat it. Like, I don't want you around me, like, you know, and if you don't have to think I'm the greatest to ever do it, but if you don't think that I know how to play drums, I mean, that's kind of what it's about. If you don't think that I'm a musician, when I've been paying my bills off of being a musician for years, since I was 14,
wow,
I'm like, why should I think like this? So when I changed that, I felt like I was able to improve as a drummer. And then I started passing that along to my students, and I felt like they were improving without limitation.
Gosh.
And it was like so amazing. It was so amazing for me to feel like suddenly I'm looking through Instagram and all of these drummers that are melting your face with their abilities. I would be discouraged from them. And now I'm like admiring them, like, you're so great at drums, you know? And like, I can learn from you because I don't feel inferior anymore.
Yeah.
And so that's what we based acceptance on. And then that's kind of, once me and a couple of my buddies established that core value, it's like everything starts falling into place. Then it's like, now I can do this chops and coffee thing, which is something that was so out of my comfort zone, leading a group of professional drummers and teachers and students and but putting myself in a situation, you know, where I don't have to say, hey, I'm better than you, I'm the authority,
Right.
so I'm going to teach you. It's not about that. It's about sharing our gifts, and it's about feeling accepted in this community. I started seeing it's a very small group, but I started seeing all these other guys, you know, come like pipe up and say, hey, I have the same problem. Like, I didn't even want to join this Zoom meeting in the morning because I felt like I wasn't good enough and you guys were going to judge me.
Yep.
And then I can be like, hey man, the whole brigade is behind you. We love you. You're like, just because you play drums, like my wife always says, it's cool. You can sit with us, you know? And it's like, that's what it's about. And so, yeah, that's my whole thing. Everything through our podcast, to my students, to everything is about making anybody that is interested, everyone should be able to participate if they want to play drums. It doesn't matter what your creed or culture or ethnicity or, you know, sexuality or whatever. If you want to play drums, who am I to say that you can't play drums?
Right. Right.
So that's
and,
it.
you know, and I commit, first of all, I love seeing that evolution of you because I've known you before that, you know, before that person. I've loved that person, like we talked about, and I've loved seeing the evolution that you've gone through, that kind of you and your team, your folks, you know, that have kind of brainstormed this idea. Because I mean, imagine if everybody had that mindset in every aspect of their life.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like just being a person of color in a group or whatever, being like, or being whatever. I don't know what it shouldn't even matter if you're just new in a new field, like real estate or whatever. You want to learn something and you're just so like, you know, or let's just use the drums for an example. Like me, you know, I've taken lessons with you. I've always loved the drums, but I wouldn't consider myself a drummer or anything like that. But coming in and just hanging with you in the morning, I look forward to it. Rico does too, you know, like he wants to do it too. And it's just like, I love it because I feel like instantly accepted, you know.
That's so great.
And I love it. And that's why I'm just like so stoked, you know, and, you know, so thank you again for the invite. Is that something that anybody that like loves drums they can tune into that? And if
anyone,
so,
it is open to anyone who wants to join. And it's free. And so all you have to do, I didn't want to just post, it's a Zoom meeting. So I didn't want to just post a Zoom meeting on the internet and then have all these trolls, because there is the reason why we have to have this core value is because the opposite does exist in our community.
That's true.
And so I want to weed out the trolls and the guys that are just going to come in and critique what we're doing or be like, Korey sucks, he's not on the level. And those guys are all out there, you know? And so you got to kind of want it. You have to hit the link on the website, and it's just a field that you have to fill out that says, I want to join. And then we send you the Zoom link, and then it's 7 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
It's been amazing. It's been amazing.
It's really cool.
And forward to it.
And the fact that you said that's how you feel is that's the biggest reward for me is being able to have an idea. I mean, it literally started from just like me contacting a buddy and being like, hey man, like it's another change in my life, waking up early and trying to get my day started the way I want to get my day started. So that's a whole other avenue, a topic. But so I contacted a buddy like, hey man, do you want to do a drum warm up with me? Like I kind of, you know, we can motivate each other. And and he was like, no, I don't wake up that early. All right. Well, like I called another guy and he's like, oh yeah, I would love to. Like, let's maybe bring in a couple other guys. Like, let's bring in, like, I have this guy that plays with so-and-so. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. And then it kind of was like, well, why don't we make this a thing? Like, why don't we just invite people and see if they'll come, and like, let's just do a group warm up, like a yoga class or something, but for drummers.
It's
and
fantastic.
And some of the drummers were like, nah, man, I can't work out that early. And they literally thought I was going to be like, and 1, and 2, and 3. I'm like,
and
no, like jazzercise or something. I'm like, no, it's not a workout. It's like a drum warm up. And they're like, oh yeah, I would love to do it. I'm like, dude.
That's so funny, but it's cool. And I also want to encourage anybody, like, you know, that's a good way. And I've actually taken, like, so Rico and I, after Chops and Coffee, we'll go back and, like, I'll tell him what you were, the exercises you did, and we would play it. Him and I,
Oh,
he and I
cool.
will sit there and
Oh,
do
that's so
kind of
great.
duos. So it's like been cool. So
I
so those
love
were
Rico too.
wonderful. I know, me too. He's amazing. And so, but I want to encourage anybody, like, if there's anybody that is considering it, to tune in, get a feel for Korey, and then get some drum lessons. He's amazing. He's doing them
Thank you.
virtually as well. And so, and I've taken lessons with him. He's been fun to work with. And
Oh man,
and
thank
once
you.
COVID's over, I want to get lessons back with you. So
That's cool. Yeah, that's I'm so happy to do that. I was gonna say that, like, if people, like, I try to have a couple exercises where, like, very, very beginners can participate, and then it gets a little harder. And then normally the last exercise we do is for the teachers and pro guys. It's pretty difficult normally. And even that is not, like, as advanced as, you know, normal. I think a normal drummer's type of thing. I think a lot of the, you know, professional guys are cool with it, but it's 7 a.m. So it's hard to really tackle something like, you know, stretch yourself out that much. So it's really cool. But I was going to say, like, yeah, if anybody wants to jump in and they've never played before, maybe try a lesson first, and we'll try to get you up to speed. Or maybe I should do, like, a live, you know, getting like beginners ready for Chops and Coffee so they can keep it. Because all of my students know all the style of how we, you know, I always let my students know, like, hey, here's how to count this. And we have a like a curriculum that we use that is our method, you know, of how to read notes and all that stuff. So
it's been awesome.
Cool.
So what another thing I love about what you and I kind of have in common is we come from, you know, musical lineage as well. And you know, my mom's a singer, and you and your dad actually just recently released an album that is just really great. I was honored to be a part of it with some vocal arrangement with your dad. And it was just, it's a wonderful record. And is it out yet, or is this a pre-release right now? It is out, right?
It's out. Yeah, it's been out for a few months, and it's not trying to pat ourselves on the back, but it's almost sold out.
What?
Yes.
Heck yeah.
So yeah.
Shoot. Great.
Yeah. So we're on the Pirates Press label, which is pretty unique. It's pretty me. Okay, so I'll tell you what it is.
Please.
So my band is called Shuffle and Bang. My dad is actually the singer, so we formed a project together after all these years.
First of all, let me say how cool that is right there. I mean, how many people get a chance to actually like legitimately do a project, have a band with their father and son deal. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, that alone has inspired me so much to, like, want to do something with my mom because of what you guys have done. So please carry on, because I want
so let me tell you about that. So me and my dad already have a banter where we're more like brothers, and I've had to get some stern talking tos like, hey man, you're being disrespectful to your dad. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right, that is my dad, you know. But I have to say that, you know, so we released this album on only vinyl or digital downloads, digital platforms. So no CDs, nothing like that. We're either like old school or modern, you know, and that's what that was done on purpose. We did that for, like, just because that's my style, you know?
Yeah.
Anyways, we got the test pressings for our album, and the first song on this album is my dad singing a cappella. And that was also on purpose. It was a song that he sang to me and my brother since we were little kids. It's called Don't Go to Strangers. It's a classic jazz song. And I put that needle on the record, and hearing my dad on vinyl, he's never been on a record, you know, on a vinyl record. It was pretty emotional, you know, and it was like, I was holding back tears.
I bet.
And it was just such a big accomplishment the process of getting this album out was so much work. And my dad has had health problems, and then my dad, it was so amazing to hear my dad's voice. You know, I've been on a bunch of records. I have a bunch of vinyl records that I played on, but to hear my dad for some reason was like, I was so proud and so happy that you can't take that away now. We're on wax together for forever, you know. And that right there for me was really, really special. And so on the other end, my dad he's always wanted to have a project where he can be in the band. He can be the singer of the band. We've had rocky situations where he's, you know, he felt like, again, going back to acceptance, like he wasn't like we were looking for another singer, or, you know, if we brought you in to produce, and it was like, I had to reassure him, Dad, Rebecca is a fantastic singer. She's one of the best I know, but she's here to produce you. You are the singer. We're not trying to get you out so Rebecca can come in. It's, you know, it's you. You're the guy, you know, and even if you lose your voice and you have to speak the words, you're still our guy. And so my dad, once we got over that, my dad, same thing. He had to go buy a record player because he doesn't have a record player anymore. He bought a record player, plugged it all in, put the needle on the thing. And my mom said he sat in there for an hour, listened to the whole album, and then was sitting there for another hour. And so she's like, it's just quiet. He's just sitting there. And my mom's like, are you okay? And he looks up and he's bawling his eyes out. He probably doesn't want me to say this on the air, but like bawling his eyes out, crying. And he's just like, for my whole life, I've wanted to do this. I've wanted to do my dad's music. Yeah. And he's like, and I've talked to so many musicians and all these musical directors and this person and that person who's played with these great people. And he's like, none of them would give me a chance. And he's like, and little did I know it was my son who, you know, I could come together with. And now it's just greater than I ever even imagined, you know? And so for both of us, it's really special. It's really, that's the word, you know, it's something that is such a big accomplishment for us. And it's the same. It's like, we know it's not everybody's music. We know that, you know, it's not everybody's taste, but that story of us coming together to do something, we've basically taken my dad's music, you know, my dad's a jazz singer, and we've taken his dad's music, and his dad sang all those songs when he was a little kid. And to the point where my dad thought that those records was his dad singing on all those Eddie Jefferson and Lou Rawls and all that stuff. He thought that was his dad, you know? And so these are those songs. And then we've taken my style, which is, you know, traditional ska and reggae, Jamaican style music, and all my other influences. My mom is Puerto Rican, so there's a big Latin influence on the record. And we covered a Joe Cuba song on there. And and so, but then the another unique aspect of this is we put this record out on a full-on punk rock label, like punk rock, right. Like a jazz record on a punk label is so, like, if you see me, it's like, yeah, that's what he is, you know. And so I didn't shop this around. I didn't ask a bunch of other labels and try to figure out who was the best one. It was a label that has put out a bunch of other music that I've played on, and emailed them just with the idea of like, hey, you know, we could use some help on maybe getting this pressed. Here's what we have to do. We've already done everything. We've recorded, artwork is done, everything. Yeah. We just need help putting it out. And they listened to it and they were like, dude, hold on. Like we gotta figure out if we can do something. And so they're like, we're a punk label, you know, but we would love to put this record out. And they didn't ask us to compromise in any way. It was like, and it totally, for some reason, it totally works. Like the punk community has totally accepted it. And they love the idea of like a classic jazz thing. It's just, I don't know how, but it worked.
It's classic jazz, but it has a different flair to it. Like you're saying, it's really got lots of different layers that can maybe overlap a little bit. And you guys are breaking barriers around here. I love it.
I hope so, you know.
Well, you did. You put out this whole jazz kind of record, like you said, on a punk label. You know, I mean, that's pretty darn cool right there. In the actions of Korey.
Yes. So and my dad is just, for me, you know, I've like we said, like we've played together, we've worked together, we've recorded together and stuff like that. It's funny, we've tried a couple different vocal producers, and we went to a couple different studios, And just having you involved in the album was really like, that was a big missing link for this album to come out the way it was. And you working with my dad and the way that you worked with my dad, it's like, it was just a perfect match. Like, you were so charming, but then you wouldn't give him an inch. Like, if he was singing what you were like singing it wrong, he needed that. I mean, and so I feel like that is the best version of my dad. That is like what the way he sang on that album is the best I've ever heard him, you know? And it was like just all the people that worked with us, from the photographer who took the picture to Jay, who did the album artwork, and the label, and you and Alan from Pacific Beat out here in San Diego. He mixed it. And Louis that recorded it, and all these guys. Like, we recorded it at Avant-Garde, which is a music school.
Oh yeah.
And it just all the musicians that are on it. I mean, it's all the San Diego, as far as I'm concerned, the best musicians in San Diego. Omar Lopez on bass, and Bobby Caresi, and Rob Dove, and so and then Rob did Rob and Bobby Caresi did all the arrangements. And again, it's like, they just saw our vision. They got it from the first day we brought it to them. And to have this album is just the biggest accomplishment that, you know, one of the biggest things that me and my dad have ever done. And it's so great to do it together. So,
well, seriously, I'm so glad you're able to share about that. And it was my honor. Thank you for the invitation to be a part of that, because I love you. Like I said, I could talk about loving you all the time. But I love you, and I love your dad. I feel just your dad is such a sweetheart, and he's got this beautiful velvet voice. And so just to be a part of that, to help in any way, I was very, very honored. So thank you for the opportunity.
Of course.
And please let people, you know, I want people to check it out. So Shuffle and Bang is the band.
Yes.
And,
the album is called Island Bop.
Island Bop. That's right.
Yeah.
Island Bop.
And it's out on the Pirates Press record label. Or you can just get it at our website. There's a link on my personal website, which is just KoreyKingston.com, Korey, and then or shuffleandbang.com, and that's it.
Perfect. So. And speaking of the band, it's funny too, because and it's a different band, but I thought of when you mentioned Bobby Cressy and you, I listened to Western Standard. All the time. Actually, I listen to both of those records all the time. It's this beautiful big. How many piece band is that? That's
for on the recordings, it's like 20. It's like a 20-piece orchestra playing Jamaican. It's a similar concept. It's it's a Jamaican jazz, basically. It's and these are traditional ska songs in Western Standard Time that are played as big band renditions. And same thing. I mean, some of the best musicians I know are on that on those records, and it's you know, the best musicians in the ska world, and then some of the best musicians just in general, like from Brian Setzer Orchestra to Tonight Show Band to, you know, a lot of these guys are just world-renowned musicians playing big band. And for me, it's pretty challenging to, you know, especially recording those albums. Most of the time on the recordings I've done with them, I'm sharing with really accomplished drummers. So Gil Sharon is one that I've had to like literally, after he's done with his songs, walk in and play on his drums and then read down the charts. And there's 20 musicians out there. Like, if I blow it, or if I go off time, or I miss one of my drum fills, like I got 20 guys that are relying on, you know, it's a lot of pressure, you know. And so it's great though. We're recording I'm working on a new album with Western Standard Time right now. Like we're doing it all remotely. So I'm getting to record the drums here at my studio, and it's really cool. It's like a lot of things, you know. It's like, even though we're in a pandemic, it's still it's a great time to be productive and to, you know, innovate 100%. And create. Yeah. It's really cool.
100%. Yeah, no, I totally get that, because I'm doing the same thing, you know. So, I mean, Korey, I'm so grateful that we've maintained being in touch and being friends over all these years.
Yeah,
and I'm
same
so
here.
proud of you, and just seeing you continue to evolve. You know, I mean, that's really kind of what life is about. I think, you know, we have to keep evolving. We have to keep growing and learning, and just, you know, trying to continue to become our authentic self. Sometimes we don't know who that is, you know.
Right.
And so what's funny, back to one of the earlier things you said, I was going to mention, I just remember just now, it's like, you're kind of, when you said now, you know, before you kind of felt a certain way, and then now it's just like, you know, it's easier to brush things off. But I think it's just something you kind of get better at, that, and being comfortable in your own skin. It's like, you're really not until you're like in your 30s. I think there's something about just being a little older, and just like, that's, to me, that's really when you become like who you are a little bit more, you know.
I for sure agree with that. I tell my wife this all the time, that, you know, fun fact, I'm in my 40s, but we can just call everybody out there. Yes, I'm in my 30s, early 30s.
Right. I think we're 28 or 29.
Yeah. But you know, I feel like, yeah, it's come with age with me, and I'm definitely not perfect. I'm definitely not there. You know, I feel like every day there's something that I can improve on. There's days where I'm just at my lowest low, and I'm like, man, I don't even know what I'm doing. But I've gone through, I've had to fail a lot. I almost ended my career in my 20s by getting in a motorcycle crash and shattering my heel. That was, I almost had to have my foot amputated, you know, and it was,
what?
Yeah. And so stuff like that has taught me, you know, how much I do love my instrument. I love playing drums. There's been a lot of bad choices with bands, you know, where I've talked about on one of my podcasts that, like, you know, being on tour, you know, I love traveling, I love touring and stuff like that. But has been times where I haven't always loved that, you know, and I've been depressed and, you know, wanted to come home and, you know, all of that stuff. So a lot of things like that have kind of taught me and molded me to who I am now in my 40s, where a lot of the stuff that I've gotten stomach aches over, you know, worrying about, doesn't matter, you know. And somebody that's really close to me, a really close friend of me, always said, you know, you're in control. You're not going to do anything that you don't want to do. And so there's no reason to really worry about, you know, what if this happens or what if that happens. If it's like not comfortable for me, I'm just not going to do it, you know. And it's like that kind of across the board, like you were saying with me. When I, like, now I'm trying to be more open to new possibilities. That's one of my affirmations. And then also hanging out with positive people that are supportive. And that's another one of my affirmations. Like, I'm a big affirmation guy. So
great. That's great.
Yeah. And so I just try to really, I don't know, keep that in mind, and kind of being okay if it doesn't work out. It doesn't mean that like if a relationship falls through, I hate that. That's one of the biggest things that I can't stand, but I have to kind of accept that sometimes people like go in different directions, and, you know, or sometimes things don't work out with my business, and it's just like, it's okay. Let's just flow like water, you know, like, let's just be open and like resilient and, you know, like not worry about it. Like, you know, let's worry about how to succeed and use that failure to succeed, and not dwell on these things, because that has legit been like what's held me back for years. So I think that, like I said, that comes with age. And in my 40s, I feel like, I was scared to death of 40. I was like, I don't want to be 40, man. That's like when I was 20, when somebody said they were 40, I was like, oh my gosh, you know,
right.
And but and so, and especially for me, I work with kids, you know, teaching. I feel like, man, they probably think I'm like older than their parents, you know. Like, they probably think I'm so old, but I'm like, you know, I don't think so. I think that it's just, I wish I knew what I knew when I was, you know, and back then I wouldn't have made dumb decisions like crashing on a motorcycle and almost ending my career, or, you know, getting in a failed marriage, or, you know, whatever, you know. So yeah, I think that's where I'm at now in my 40s, where I feel like I'm able to flourish a lot better in my 40s and do it with confidence rather than worry about everything. If that makes sense.
That's right. Totally makes sense. And what's cool is that, you know, like 40 is really not crazy. It's like, I feel great. I feel like there's still so much to do. And like, I try to come into life with, you know, people always, they think I'm a lot younger than I am, you know, and And I think, and I don't know if it is true, I'm just going to say it, that's what it is. But I always have try to have a sense of like wonderment, like a child, almost childlike, not childish, but
Right.
childlike, I try to really approach things. I've been successful in my career and all that stuff, but I still want to I don't want to come off as like I know everything. I don't know anything, in the big scheme of things. So I try to, even if I am skilled in some form or fashion, I try to still like have just that kind of gratitude and wonderment about everything that I try to, I feel like that just helps with your spirit, with your and even with the drums, like you said, like with affirmations and everything in the morning, like doesn't that just set your day in such a different trajectory than if you woke up and it was just like, oh, another day or whatever. Like, so any little thing that like maybe is a negative thing, it would turn you this way so much quicker than if you were already like positive, you know what I mean? Like you're already positive and this little dip will just be like, and then you're still up here,
Right. I think that's a thing that it's a musician thing too. I was caught up in that before COVID. I was caught up even during the beginning of this whole lockdown. I was still caught up in the musician world where, you play gigs late at night, and then a lot of times you have an after party and you hang out with all the fans or whatever. And then, there's drinking and who knows what else. And then you wake up, you sleep in and, and then do it over again. And so, for me, changing that was a big deal. And so like I mentioned, waking up early, both me and my wife decided to start waking up early, and I stopped sleeping in. I allow myself one day to sleep in, but yeah,
come on.
yeah, I gotta live,
Right.
But like
clock.
yeah. But and then so that's been a big deal for me. That's been the biggest change. I was telling Phil, my partner that does the podcast with me.
Funky Phil.
I told him Funky Phil, yeah. I told him that the two things that changed my world, is waking up early, and then as soon as I wake up, I get ready and do my morning thing. But I go straight to the beach and then do my other morning routine, meditate, pray, and say my affirmations, right, and get grounded, no shoes. Feet on the sand. So I'm total hippie. I know.
I love it. You're so speaking my language, believe me.
Yeah. And so, and that has done. And then the other thing is, as soon as I wake up, first thing, guzzle a whole cup of water.
Yeah.
Never used to do that. I know it sounds crazy.
I need to do that more.
And the way that your body comes to life when you just drink a whole cup of, like, down a cup of water. Yeah. Your body feels like, you feel your insides like, oh, thank you, we were dying in here, And so those two things, those are like the first two things that I changed. That's awesome. And it was just like, oh my gosh, what have I been doing my whole life? And who
am I?
Yeah. And before I would wake up, late. And by the time I would finally get going, it was like 11 or 12, half of my day is gone.
Yeah.
And, waking up early is not for everyone. That's fine. But like, I just started noticing that a lot of the reason why my business wasn't, it wasn't snowballing, or it wasn't even having momentum, it was because of me. It wasn't I would make excuses. Why is this guy being successful? Why is this guy doing this? Why is blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I was like, okay, what do successful people do? They wake up early, they meditate, they do their thing, and they have their routine, whatever that is. And so I'm like, all right, let's start there. And that has been monumental for me.
You're preaching to me this morning. Thank you. That's great. I love it. It's a good reminder.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, yeah. And it's simple, right? I mean, how hard is it to drink water, and like, so, I feel like it just, I don't know. It helps you grow, and it helps you, it clears my head to where I'm ready to take on my day when 8 or 9 o'clock rolls around. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, I know what I need to do. My head is right. Nothing, like you said, nothing is really getting me down. When something negative happens, there are definitely days where I'm just like, I don't know, but, it's far and fewer than before. Before it was like most of my days were just like, I'm just gonna shut it down. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I can't seem to make it work. I'm just gonna get a job.
Yeah.
And you know, it's again, nothing wrong with that. Some people, that's what they want to do, you know,
Right.
and that's fine. My wife works a 9-to-5 job, and that's her deal. You know, she wants to do more, but I'm just not that kind of person. You know,
Yeah.
I was a construction contractor and all of that stuff, and I was the most unhappy and depressed I've ever been. And so, but it was the same for me doing, you know, touring with the wrong band and not
That's
touring the way I want. You know, it was the most depressed I've ever been. And so, you know, doing that kind of morning routine stuff, affirmation stuff, all of that stuff has helped me to kind of play by my rules, if that makes sense, you know.
It does. It makes a lot of sense for sure.
And I was gonna say,
cool. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say, like you were saying too, like having a child kind of mentality, you know, the way a child is unassuming, like accepting, you know. I did a thing with with some younger students last night, and it was just on Zoom, and we played games, and there was only a couple of them, but they were both like, I think 8 and 9 years old, and never met, and they were just totally buddies, you know. And they both play drums. They both know the lingo that we teach in, you know, that I teach in my school. And so they have that in common. They're talking about their video games, and they're doing the dances from their video games. And there's no like, oh, people are going to think I'm stupid or whatever. It's like, and so I always get along with people I get along with normally with kids that are like 13 and under. For some reason, I just like, we speak the same language, or I get along with people that are like 37 and older. And like, I don't, you know, and then in between I get along, but I feel like I start feeling that inferiority complex. And like, they probably think I'm old and dumb. I don't know what I'm talking about, you know. And the younger kids were laughing, we're cracking jokes, we're doing silly dances. And like, you know, the adults, it's like, we've kind of figured that stuff out, that it doesn't matter, you know. So
I love it, man. Man, we could talk all day. I could sit here and just chat with you all like all day. I guess we can wrap it up for now, but will you please join me again?
Of course, I would love to.
Please,
how's tomorrow? I'm free.
I know, right? Not at 7 o'clock. You're not.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not actually. No, how about I join you next time, but this time on my show, and then you join me on that one.
I would. That sounds fantastic. Please make sure to follow Korey Kingston. Check out his website. He's got Drum Brigade is his company where he teaches lessons, and he's just, you know, he does amazing podcasts. He's just a wealth of knowledge. And seriously, and I'm totally sidebarring right now, but when from seeing Western Standard Time and your dad, I'm like, dude, if I ever do any like islandy record, I'm coming to you.
Oh, heck yeah.
So I'm putting that out there. If that ever happens, and it's been on my mind, you know.
Oh, you would kill the reggae thing too. You would so kill that.
Thank you.
I mean, that kind of needs to happen.
Okay. you saw it here first, folks. We're gonna make everything. So, but seriously, please follow him. And if anybody has any aspirations to take drums, get with Korey. He's really amazing. He knows how to work with people all levels. He's just an incredible person. Korey, I'm just blessed to know you. Call you friend. I love you so much. Yeah, and I'll see you tomorrow morning for chocolate and coffee. So
all right, looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Rebecca. I appreciate it. You're killing the game. I love it.
Thank you. So are you, man. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. I'm Rebecca Jade. This is Everything with Rebecca Jade here at IQ Podcasts, and we'll see you next time.